Hey everybody, it's Carly Spurt from An Actor's Library, and I am excited today to do a very special book review with the author that I personally know of the book 40-something. 10 Radical Lessons for Women, How to Live in Love Without Losing Themselves. She's here with me, Dr. Darnise Martin.
Thank you, Carly, for having me. We've been talking about this for a long time, and finally we get an opportunity to do it.
Yes.
And oddly enough, in Savannah, Georgia.
We are in the cutest little Airbnb carriage house owned by the lovely Craig Garrett, recommended to me by my cousin Kimberly. Got to do the shout outs, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so here we are in Savannah, Georgia.
Oh my God, it is my happy place. And I love to come here. I've been coming here since at least 2018, I think. Wow. And so it has just worked out when we were here together. We didn't even plan it together. But we planned it and then it just worked out. So here we are. Now we can do this.
And I can interview you about this amazing book. Well, first of all, tell my friends, family, followers, fans who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, wow. Where do I start?
Well, how about, no, that's too far back. But wait a minute. Should we talk about you first or how we met first? Do you remember?
Yes, I do. On a plane headed to New Orleans. Oh, I have my New Orleans t-shirt on too. I didn't get it there then at that time, but I know.
We met on a plane on the way to New Orleans, and where were we going?
Essence Fest.
Yes.
So it was July, almost an anniversary.
Oh my goodness, you're right.
Oh, what day? I don't remember what year it was.
I don't either. I don't remember how old I was, what year. Talk about 40-something. I don't remember. But I remember you, and I remember I felt like I was in your way. I was in the aisle, and I was fiddling with trying to put some overhead stuff, and you were like, ma'am? Because we were in the same row, right? Yeah. So you wanted to sit down, and so did everybody else behind her, and I'm still like, do I want this? No, I want this, I want that, I want that, and so I was like, oh, this could be a problem, and it wasn't a problem. We ended up being great friends all these years. So that's how we met. Now about you.
Well, let's see. I am from Ohio originally, from Cincinnati, so I won't go back to I was born. But anyway, but kind of sort of, because it gives context to being a Midwesterner and finding myself in California eventually. But I've had kind of I always say a circuitous route to my professional life. And by that I mean just kind of round away. You know, life is not really a straight line. And so I started my career as in the fashion industry. And then I was like, I am completely out of alignment. This is not, I'm not cut out for this. I'm on the wrong track. Because when I grew up, I was really somebody who liked to read about spirituality a lot. And I just didn't know people did anything with that other than have it as a hobby. So I ended up in the wrong career path for a good while. And then, y'all seen Devil Wears Prada. That was my nightmare.
Really? You lived that life?
Yes.
That Devil Wears Prada life?
Wow. And it was like the universe was telling me all along, this isn't right. It doesn't feel right because it's not right. And so eventually I got the message and I left that, and then I got myself into a master's program to study theology and PhD program after that, which felt to me so refreshing. You know, we can be so afraid of big change like that, but when things are so painful and uncomfortable, it's like you don't have a choice. When we have choices, when we're like, well, I can just stay with this because it's comfortable, then we'll stay with it because it's comfortable and not make changes. But it was so uncomfortable. I hated it so bad. Devil Wears Prada nightmare. I was like, I gotta go. So, and when I got myself on the right track, it felt refreshing. It felt like, wow, and this is something I get to do. And so then, you know, master's into PhD program, and, you know, then I became a professor at Loyola Marymount University in LA. And
that's where you were working when we met, right?
Yes. We've been doing that a lot, actually. Since we've been down here saying the same thing.
At the same time. I love it. So when you talked about the Devil Wears Prada and you realized, or you got a message or a feeling or your intuition told you that was not your life's path, where do you address that for those who may be having that same issue right now? Where do you address that in your book? Which radical lesson would you say that is?
Well, it will be radical lesson number 5. Be authentic in all aspects of your life. Because if you're not, you will not be happy no matter what. I mean, people can throw more money at you in your job and you may take it, but you're still not going to feel fulfilled. There'll be something kind of eating at you. So for me, it was this other thing like pulling at me, and I didn't even know what it was. I was like, I just must be crazy because I have a good career in fashion. Like, this is a job that people would really want. This is a career path people want. But I didn't want, I came to the point where it's like, I don't want my boss's job. I don't want my boss's job. So what am I doing here? And I had this, inclination like, well, why don't you just do the thing that you like to do? And I said, but I don't know what I would do. I like to read religion books. I like to talk about spirituality with people. And already I was starting to kind of be a life coach to people. And it was weird because I didn't know, wasn't really called that.
Yes.
But people would ask me, and I was always reading, so I always had something to say. For better or for worse, I always had something to say.
Well, let me ask you this. You're also a writer. So you love reading books, you love studying, you're a historian, because we have been to some amazing places here in Savannah, and actually I wanted the tour guides to sit down and let Dr. Darnise take over, but she was like, no, this is not my show, no. But so you love reading, you love studying, you love history, religion, and then at some point you started writing your own books. How did that come about?
It is just, it's the divine flow, I call it. Like, I can't turn this off, because when you get in alignment with who you really are, things flow. And that's one of the ways you know that things are, that you're in alignment, because things feel easier. They flow more rather than swimming upstream.
Yes, Abraham Hicks, right? When
you're struggling a lot, you got to really say it. Is this where I'm supposed to be?
Yes.
Maybe there's a reason why it's hard. What if I do the thing that makes me feel a little bit better? So
stop paddling.
It's like I channel in a way, and I wrote this book in particular, 40 something, because I was going through so much myself, having felt like I was losing myself in a professional job title that really didn't fit anymore, and in a relationship that really didn't fit anymore. And so I felt like I was losing myself. So initially I started writing because I was writing my own therapy. It was therapy for me. And after a while, I was like, wow, I have something here. I guess it's going to be a book.
Another book, because you've written how many books now? This is number what?
I don't know which number it is, because I've written some academic books also. And so that one is Beyond Christianity, African Americans in their Thought Church. And then I've edited some, and I've written a lot for other people's books.
And that's why you're here, because I have mad respect for authors. Those of you who have been following An Actors Library knows that whenever I get a chance to be in a book club or talk to an author or go to a book signing, wait a minute. I love autographs because writers are rock stars to me. So I just want to show off yet another autographed book. So yes, I am just fascinated with the whole writing process. I'm a good writer, my mom said, but I just don't have the discipline. I just don't have the discipline that you writers have. Like, how do you have a routine, a writing routine, or it just comes to you and it just all pours out? Or tell us about that.
All of the above. I feel like it lives in my head, and therefore I have to get it out. Now, I have about 2 books in my, whatever you want to call it, in my consciousness right now that I have not exercised enough discipline to get out of myself right now. So one thing we can fall into as writers is trying to have the perfect scenario, right? Like I have to go to Savannah, have a cottage, and be able to write, kind of thing. I went to Panama one year for a month, and that really helped me get on track to systematize what I had been writing, because it was just a bunch of notes all over the place. So there is a way, get butts in seats, we call it, right? Put your butt in the seat on a regular basis so that the muse, the creative muse, can find you, right? If you occupy yourself all the time, every minute of the day, then there's no time for them to. So you got to be willing to sit with the silence, and sometimes nothing happens. But don't get upset about it. It's like, okay, I'm priming the pump. Ideas are percolating. I always say I have to write my way into it. So
just start writing.
Just
start. Yeah, I've heard that too.
Right. And when I was in my doctoral program, writing my dissertation, which it's another kind of writing, and it's very hard.
But those dissertations sometimes turn into books, right?
Oh, yeah, and mine did, Beyond Christianity. But
see, I knew that.
She knew that. We would do what's called a raw draft. A first draft is already too much pressure. Like it has to be somehow kind of good. It has to be kind of good.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But if it was a raw draft, then that meant just start writing. And so a lot of it is not going to be very good, but you just allow for that until finally you find a flow. And then you find a flow for the day, for the hour, whatever it's going to be. And then you're like, wow, okay. And then for myself, I feel kind of the muse leave. That's when I start struggling a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
I'm doing this like I'm typing, right? So it's like I start off struggling, then I find a flow.
That's the muse working.
Right? And then she pulls back, and I'm like, and I'm like, oh, that's probably it for the day.
Right. Oh, that's so interesting. I love that. I have to share something because I did read this book a little while ago, and because, like you said earlier, we've been planning this for a while, so I wanted to go back and do my homework before we spoke today. So while I was here in Savannah, you're out doing your thing, I'm doing my thing. I looked through the book again because I had made notes in the back, as you can see.
Oh, yes.
And I ran across something that we had been talking about just in general. And it's about Enneagram.
Oh, yes.
Which we had just been talking about the other day, and I didn't even know you knew anything about it. But I was having a little private moment where I was feeling, I don't know, sorry for myself or something. I couldn't sleep and I needed something. And I had heard another life coach or I don't know,
Yes.
another expert. So I couldn't sleep, and I had heard another expert recently talk about how do I say it?
Enneagram.
Enneagrams. So I'm like, well, because I love personality tests and quizzes and all that kind of stuff to find out more about myself, to get deeper into who I am and what I want. So I said, let me check out this Enneagram thing. And it was like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and I found out that I'm a number 7.
Right.
And it may mean nothing to you, but don't worry about it. There's a point to the story. So then the next day, I see Dr. Darnise, and I was like, I just discovered this amazing thing called Enneagram, and I'm a number 7. And she was like, number 7? Then you are da-da-da-da, 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 da-da-da-da. I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? How do you know about this? She has it written in her book. It's in the book. What is the lesson?
That's funny.
Learn from the patterns in your life. There are no accidents.
Right. It was so funny for me to walk in, and we just fell into that conversation about the Enneagram, and she tells me number 7. I'm like, oh yeah, I see that.
She runs it down. And so now every time she says something to me like, are you really going to put a straw in a beer? I'm like, well, I'm a number 7. I'm a number 7. And she's like,
You're so right.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes, you are number 7. So what is your favorite chapter? Do you have a favorite or favorite lesson or anything you would like everyone to know? Because we don't want to give away too much, because we want you to go out and get this book. And I have to let you know, I have to be honest with you, I never even thought about what my life was like in my 40s. Like, I kind of don't look at life like that. I don't like to analyze it too much. I just like to be in it. But Because I'm a 7. Exactly, because I'm a 7. So I got that whispering from Dr. Darnise. When she really wants to make a point, she lowers her voice. I tend to scream, so I'm a 7. Anyway, but it made me reflect after reading this book, like, what was I doing in my 40s? I don't think I want to share it with you. But anyway, we're also from a different generation. So there's some years between our ages. So experiences could be different because just of the times. But I was going through some stuff in my 40s. Now, is that normal? Is that a decade of what? Like fill in the blank. 40s is the decade of
transformation. If you will allow it. We have these stages in life. We go through something in our 20s. We go through something in our 40s, into early 50s. And then in our senior years, we go into something too. And I haven't gotten there yet, so I don't know what year or decade that's going to be. But it's just the phases of life of growing. But we have to allow ourselves to grow. Because again, I was saying earlier how some people get into a groove of comfort. And even though they don't really like it, they might complain. We all know people complain about how terrible everything is.
Yeah, their jobs and their families and where they live and
And that's just their story and it's their identity. And so when you present something, like we might say something as basic as, well, why don't you get a new job or why don't you move? And they're like, oh, well, I can't because, right? Here come all the stories. But so we have to have the mindset where we're willing to make the move. But when you're not willing, it becomes very painful. This is why when people get old, like, some people who get old, they become bitter and kind of mean and curmudgeonly. They haven't really allowed.
I don't want to do that.
No,
I don't want to
be
do that.
Open to the changes.
I'm glad I know her. I don't want to do that. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You have to be open to the changes that life presents you. And so in your 20s, you're just really discovering yourself, your identity. Apart from being a child, now you're a young adult. You got to figure stuff out. You got to figure out a career. Most people, they decide to partner up. Are they going to have children? So there's sort of this initial adulthood that happens. By 40, it's more reflection, like, did I make good choices in my 20s? Because now I am living the result. Like, am I a parent? What kind of job am I in? Is there any future for me in this company?
Is it a job versus a career? Yeah.
Right. So it's like the weight of those choices now start to show themselves. And for a lot of people, especially towards their mid or late 40s, now their kids are a bit older teens are going off to college. Maybe there's been some life, I shouldn't even say maybe, there's definitely been some life changes by then. People have illnesses or, parents have died or require care. People have divorces.
I've had that.
The things.
Well, yes, I've had both of those things. A divorce and a mother who needed care. Yeah.
And it changes, therefore, the way you move through the world and the way you think. And for some people, they get shut down because it's scary when you don't. Stuff happens, like the ground is shifting under your feet, and it's scary because you're like, well, now what? And people start to feel, I'm too old to make a change. But here, the 40s is an opportunity. It opens up all of the things that we think of as problems. It's your opportunity for self-awareness. So when I say I wrote this because I was going through feeling like I was losing myself in my career and in my relationship, the pain of that forced me into something else. So if we allow that to be, instead of just saying, well, I'm stuck and there's nothing I can do, then it gets better. Then the 40s become this transformational time where we say, you know what, I'm feeling all of this. That means it's time to do something else, and I'm open and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So, because then after that, well, I'll just say in the 40s, we still feel young enough. I mean, some people say I'm too old, but you still
I hate that. I hate that when people 20, 30, 40, you're like, well, I'm older and I'm getting older and I'm so old. Stop it.
Exactly.
Just stop it.
But you still have energy to do a lot of things. And I mean, I have clients who are, one who's 70, and she was kind of concerned about, well, I don't feel like I'm at midlife, because I talk about Black women at midlife all the time. Well, she's not midlife chronologically, but her mindset is, because she's looking at what's next for me.
Yes.
And she's asking the questions, and she's willing to move in it. And so she's still in a midlife kind of mental space of believing that there is something else for her to do or she would be happier. And so, I walk with women who are in that space and they're like, I know there's something else for me. That's something people will say commonly. I know there's something else for me, but I just don't know what. I'm like, well, you might need a life coach. And so, here I am.
She's a good one. She's a good one. Before we end this wonderful time, because you and I can go on forever. We've been staying up to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning just with them Enneagrams and 7s and 6s and 4s and 5s and tears and laughter and ooh, child.
I'm telling on myself.
Oh, she's a 3, I'm a 7. Is there a 10?
No.
Oh, okay.
29.
I was trying to do some numerology with the anagram. Okay, so the conclusion, I love the way you ended the book, and I'm going to read directly from page 115.
Okay.
What's the key to manifesting anything you want? Say it with me. I can create anything I want, and today I want, and you fill in the blank. Now go wash the dishes or have a cocktail and forget about how it will happen. Trust in the restoration. I absolutely love that. I really, really do. Thank you for that. Do you want to speak on it a little bit, or it's pretty self-explanatory, but sure, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, it kind of gets to like a writing prompt when I was saying you kind of just let yourself flow, but you start with a prompt. So what is it I want today? Because a lot of times what we do is we take on too much. We say, well, how am I going to change my life? That's too much.
Right. You got to break it down into pieces. Yeah.
So it doesn't feel overwhelming and doesn't stop you before you even get a chance to dream the next thing. So think about what would make you happy today. Or
right now, what would make me happy is a sandwich. Is that good?
That's good.
Because now I can just start with because a sandwich would make me happy right now.
And then the universe will align once you either go to a place where you can buy one or you get yourself in your kitchen and you start doing it. Then divine inspiration comes because you're in your happy place and the vibration has risen because you're doing something that makes you happy. We may say, well, that's such a small thing.
That's what I was going to say. It's so simple, but is that...
Yeah, because it's about our vibration. It's a vibrational universe, and so we
vibration of
attract
happiness.
Things. Exactly. So when you say, well, if I want to, start a business or I want to write a book for myself, how is making my sandwich going to help? Because you get into a vibrational space by doing the small things, and the inspiration comes. So don't think, oh, there's a 1-to-1 correlation where if I want to write a book, I have to do all these things about writing a book. You'll get to that.
Yeah.
The inspiration will come for that. But what can you do in the moment? Well, if it's time to have a sandwich and you think to yourself, okay, am I going to go out and get one? Or am I going to see what I have in my refrigerator?
But we don't have to worry about it because you've set your intention.
Yep.
I want a sandwich.
Yep.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. And then you can let go of, the last part of that was, you don't have to worry about, well, how am I going to write the book?
Right.
Don't worry about that part. Trust the process that, you know what, I will get the inspiration I need when I need it.
Trust the restoration.
There's a quote I like, follow your highest excitement. It's a complete kit. Because once you're on that vibration, the next step will be revealed to you. We tend to
say that again.
Follow your highest excitement because it is a complete kit. Meaning you'll know what to do next.
Oh.
We typically stand at point A and want to see everything B through Z. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
But if you're doing at point A, the thing that is your highest excitement, what makes you happy in the moment, the next thing will flow to you. So that's what I mean by a complete kit.
I love it.
It gives you the next steps. You don't have to worry about, I'm guilty of this too. I will worry about what's the next step. Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
And then I say to myself, you know what? It's all working out.
Right.
And the other part of the quote is about abundance. Abundance is...
my other favorite topic.
Right. Abundance is having what you need when you need it. We tend to think, I need to have a bag of money, a huge bank account at any one moment. Otherwise, I'm not abundant. But no, do you have what you need in the moment to do what you need to do in the moment?
Beautiful.
It becomes a complete kit.
Well, let me ask you this.
Sure.
Where do we go for more of this goodness, more of this coaching, more of this learning of acceptance, the stages of our lives, manifestation? Where do we go? Where can we find you? Tell us.
I'm all over social media at Dr. Darnise on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I guess the only place I'm not is Twitter. You can email me directly, Dr. Darnise at drdarnisemartin.com.
And where can we get the book?
You can get 40 something on Amazon. You can also get it at 40somethingthemovement.com/book, but that's very complicated. So just send me an email, Dr. Darnise at drdarnisemartin.com.
She'll make sure you get the book.
Right.
I bought it out the trunk of her car. Just saying.
I have some. Yeah,
In the parking lot of All That and More Boutique. Remember, we ran into each other there. We are destined to be in each other's lives, it appears, because the universe keeps putting us together. So this has been amazing, and I want to thank you for being my first live guest, and thank you for being my friend.
Well, you're certainly welcome.
And now let's go.
Too.
Yes, let's go get a sandwich.